a new series on GOCC, cult investigation. And today I'm going to be using ChatGPT again for a video, taking a word for word, a live quote from Elder Rakah on a video he did 2 weeks ago called The Raising of the Dead.
So again, brothers and sisters, everyone on the outside of this belong on the outside of it. Because if you don't appreciate what this church is, not being able to get that from any institution, including a church, I'll tell you what, you deserve what's coming if you can bear it. See, but brothers and sisters, there's many works that are done that I don't say. But just like the Bible says, there's a lot of evildoers out there whose mouths must be stopped because that's all the work they have. So what they'll do is they'll play on what? The ambiguity or the area where most people can't see and try to make people believe there's something else outside of the faith that have always been in us as elders to do this work. And they'll make you believe that there's something going on when really what's going on is in their evil behind. Deflecting. And because we don't allow them to exercise the evil amongst us, because they're checked when they do wrong, because we ain't going to be ran from the people under us. You got a choice. Either you can get in line, follow the faith of what this church is, because you wouldn't know what you know if it wasn't for us, or kick rocks. See? We're not going to be ran by Jezebels, women who try to overrun their men, who will find platforms to talk because their man don't got them in, because what they did was they emasculated their men, and now they think that they're going to go up the chain. And guess what? That's not happening. See? So the women who run roughshod and is all online doing stuff is because their man don't have them in check. See? That won't be allowed here. The men who act like women, that won't be allowed here. A man whines about another man. That won't be allowed. You're going to man up.
I'm going to have ChatGPT decipher it. So let's get right in. Can you decipher, this is my question, can you decipher and read in between the lines of what his deceptive speech is here? ChatGPT is going to give the psychological breakdown. What is he really saying here in terms of the cult language and identification? So what it sounds like, if you're outside this group, you are on your own and something bad is coming. What it's doing, creating fear of leaving, framing the group as the only safe place, turning disagreement into danger, not just difference. Leaving subtext, leaving us isn't neutral. It's risky. You'll regret it. Okay? So putting in fear that if you leave, you're leaving Christ. Remember, we are the temple of the Most High. Where two or three are gathered, Christ is in the midst. You wouldn't know what you know if it wasn't for us. What it sounds like, your understanding comes from us. What it's doing, establishing intellectual dependency, right? Intellectual dependence, positioning leadership as the source of truth, undermining independent thinking. So they're the experts, kind of like when you go to the doctor's office. What? You listen to the expert. You don't know anything. The doctor knows everything. So you're getting that same type of vibe at this church from our elders. Your identity, subtext, your identity and knowledge are tied to us. You can't stand on your own. Okay? What it sounds like. What are things happening are things happening behind the scenes you don't know about? What it's doing, creating mystique and hidden authority, discouraging questioning. You don't see the full picture. So people, former members, Rakah has all the answers. He's the authority. His narrative is what matters, not others. Justifying lack of transparency. Trust us, even when you can't verify anything. Evildoers. Their mouths must be stopped. What it sounds like. Critics are evil and should be silenced. What it's doing. Labeling dissent as moral corruption. Preemptively discrediting critics. Justifying suppression of opposing voices. If someone speaks against us, they are not just wrong, they are evil. Okay? And I have a book I want to read a passage from. They'll play on ambiguity, make you believe something is going on. What it sounds like. Critics are manipulating perception. What it's doing. Reversing suspicion back on critics, inoculating members against outside information, creating a closed information system. Any concerns you hear are deception. Don't trust them. Get in line or kick rocks. And I've heard in one of the meetings I was in with Elder Akah before I left the church, he told me to fall in line, and I was the victim of everything and going on in the Boston body. What it sounds like: submit or leave. What it's doing: establishing binary choice, obedience versus exile. Removing space for nuance, dialogue, or reform, reinforcing top-down authority. There is no middle ground. You either submit or you are out. We ain't going to be ran from people under us. What it sounds like: leadership cannot be challenged by members. What it is doing: explicitly defining a member power hierarchy, rejecting accountability from below, reinforcing control with feedback. Gender and control language. Jezebels, women, men don't have them in check. What it sounds like: women speaking out equals disorder. Men must control them. Enforcing strict gender hierarchy, shaming dissent, especially from women, linking disagreement to moral failure or weakness. Women who speak out are out of order. Men who don't control them are labeled weak. Men who act like women, men who act like women, man up. Okay, they're telling us to man up. Okay, so this is encouraging to dishonor your own wife. What it sounds like: emotional expression or criticism equals weakness. What's doing: policing behavior through shame, discouraging vulnerability or questioning, reinforcing conformity through identity pressure. If you question or express concern, you are less of a man. Overall pattern, putting it together. So this is what summed up. It's isolation. Outside equals danger. Inside safety. Us and them dynamics, right? Fear conditioning. You deserve what's coming. Leaving is framed as consequence. Information control. Hidden works, right? What's going on behind the scenes? Just trust us. It's like the Wizard of Oz. It reminds me. Hidden works. Critics equals evil and be deceptive. Elders above, all the elders, all leadership's above criticism. Authority protection, no upward accountability, get in line. Identity control. Your knowledge comes from us. Gender roles and force. Shamed, used, uh, used to regulate behavior. Final take. Individually, some of these elements can exist in strict religious environments, but combined, this kind of language discourages questioning, centralizes authority, frames outside as dangerous, and uses fear and identity pressure, which are hallmarks of high control group dynamics. Okay, and then it goes down here. All right, so that's it for that. Maybe I can share. Let me try this one thing to share a video from YouTube of another example. Hold on. Let's see. Oh man, I'm not even signed in. All right, well, I'll pause it here and make video two. Yeah, I'll make another video, but